Hey, hey, hey.
Now on 4, dash cam video shows a man dodging a bullet before returning fire. The men involved sustained non-life-threatening injuries. This was just one instance of weekend violence on 314 Day, a day meant to celebrate what is good about our city. Well, we have reported on it countless times. Violence involving our area's youth. Crime numbers show juvenile homicides were down last year compared to 2024, but still 52 young people lost their lives. Now, after a weekend of violence and chaos on St. Louis streets that ended in 7 people being shot, we are asking what more could be done to prevent this violence that is holding our region back. Just to recap, on Saturday night, hundreds of young people were in the street near Broadway and Halls Ferry. Gunshots were fired and a 14-year-old girl was hit. There were also shootings at other street takeovers throughout the city. A 17-year-old boy injured at 7th and Chestnut and a 19-year-old injured by gunfire at 9th and Branch. The constant through all of this, parents nowhere to be found.
Our officers should not be your babysitter. Our city is not a playground, and this type of violence is absolutely unacceptable.
In fact, amid this weekend chaos, both city and police leaders are in talks to move up the curfew for kids. And right now on Forward, and only on 4, I sat down with SLMPD Chief Robert Tracy to talk about what his department can do to keep you safe.
We want kids to come downtown, but we need them supervised. We need them to make sure that they're not causing harm to themselves, or they're getting into conflicts with other groups of kids.
In an exclusive interview after a weekend of violence and chaos on many St. Louis streets, Chief Robert Tracy tells me his department is considering moving up the city's 12 a.m. weekend curfew and could once again target parents for their kids' bad behavior like they did on July 4th.
We issued summonses to the parents for allowing their underage person being downtown and committing some crimes or being in possession of fireworks or a firearm. So that really went over. People thought it would be controversial, but I thought it was good to start asking these parents to be responsible. Some parents didn't know where their kids were.
Those enforcement strategies may be a step toward controlling some of the bad behavior, but preventing some of these gatherings before they could start with a heightened focus on problem properties. The chief mentioned specifically the Marquee Restaurant and Lounge on Locust, right behind police headquarters.
We're looking at places that have earned our attention because of the violence that's happening inside the club that spills outside the club. And I think that needs a good look about the licensing to 3 a.m. Because everything's happening after 12 o'clock.
So there is consistent establishments that are always on your radar that seems to be establishments that are maybe causing some of the chaos that's happening.
Yeah, we call them problem properties, nuisance properties. They gather points, and then we can do, there's some things we can do court-ordered to probably shut them down, but consistency of having conversations with them, going through a due process. But there's some things that I believe because of the protecting the neighborhood, protecting the public, sometimes things can move quicker, and they have in other places, and we're looking at some of those options. And as a police chief in my other cities, I have shut down immediately because of public safety factors. We're looking at some of those options here, and hopefully we can find a way, a lawful way to do it.
Also to fight crime, Chief Tracy says his department needs more officers. He says SLMPD currently has 850 officers, 250 short of fully staffed. Now the department and City Hall are at odds over a 39% increase to the police budget for next fiscal year. But Chief Tracy says they can't keep up with attrition and need to be able to offer officers more competitive pay.
Probably over 250 people, and I think 50 more in a couple of months, can leave today and retire. So think about how much further we will be down. So this is a critical issue to address. This isn't just, hey, we just want to get more money because now the state and we have a budget issue. This is about an opportunity to move this place forward, build off the successes, and make sure we can set this place up for the future, to make sure we bring more businesses in, keep the ones that we have, and make people feel safe downtown and throughout the whole city.
And continuing our coverage of this important issue, First Alert 4's David Amilotti sat down with Missouri's top cop, Attorney General Catherine Hanaway, about what her office can do to prevent and prosecute these crimes.
What does this say about the current state of public safety in St. Louis?
Well, I think it says a couple of things. Number one, that we don't have enough police officers.
we are still down considerably, hundreds of officers from full strength, and that we're not paying those men and women enough, which is why there's such a hard time recruiting them. But we have men and women who dedicate their lives to serving us. And when something like this happens, and it happens all over the city, there's violence all over the city this weekend, there's these quote-unquote slideshows, there's fireworks being set off, there's no way that a minimized force can take care of everything. It also says mom and dad have to be more involved in parenting.
Who bears responsibility for preventing a night like this? I mean, is it city officials? Is it police? Is it state leadership?
I think we all have to own some of it. And I think that St. Louis is going to get safer because we have a prosecutor, a mayor, a police chief, a U.S. attorney, an attorney general, and a governor who are all committed to reducing violent crime. It was a terrible weekend, but the trend line is getting slightly better. We should not at all take solace from that. What we should do is, since we have this great cooperation now, we should step on the gas harder.
There was a 14-year-old girl who got shot over the weekend.
It's just tragic.
When you talk about juvenile system reform, are we doing enough to deter violence in this age group?
No, we're not. And we're not intervening young enough. And we need to, the first time, I mean, it is a little bit of a, you know, it's an analogy that people won't necessarily like, but it is the kind of spit on the sidewalks sort of policing, that when minor infractions are happening, you have to react to it so that you prevent people from going down a path of much more violent behavior.
What are you willing to do when it comes to Missouri changing how it deals with repeat offenders, especially with violent cases?
We have two legislative priorities this year. Number one is to reform the juvenile justice system. It is a problem that you can be a very violent juvenile and still be out on the streets. And it's a problem we have to address. The adult criminals know that they can hide behind juveniles and are handing them weapons. So that's our number one priority. Number two priority is truth in sentencing. When someone gets sentenced, they're not doing enough time.
When you see a weekend like this, and you're Missouri's top cop, what is the message that is being sent to residents? Is this the kind of crime that residents should anticipate with the state having more involvement with policing?
No, you should see a reduction in this kind of violence. And the police board is working towards a pay raise for police in the city of St. Louis. Right now, the salaries are not competitive with many of the municipalities or the county. That's why the police keep migrating. They get great training in the city of St. Louis, and then they go to places that are less violent where they get paid more. So the most important thing that that board can do, they're doing. They're going to get those pay raises for the police officers.
There seems to be some tension between the board and the mayor, the city, trying to come up with a number to agree on. But as the chief lawyer of the state, what do you believe constitutes general revenue for the city of St. Louis?
Every dollar that's collected.
Simple as that?
Simple as that.
Okay. Beyond enforcement.
But I will say I'm not the state auditor either, right?
After a night like what St. Louis had, a violent weekend like St. Louis had, what is the specific piece of legislation that you would push as a solution if you had that ability?
Reforms to the Juvenile Justice Code and truth in sentencing. And then I'd push hard for pay raises for police officers. Those are the three most important things.
Well, as always on Forward, we want to get your thoughts. What resources do you think would help keep kids away from crime? Email us at forward@firstalertforward.com.